If God wants to watch a movie, which one do you think it will choose? I think it must be Shawshank's Redemption, because in the Bible, God has a miracle, turning water into wine, and this Shawshank Redemption is a miracle. As the #1 in film history, I won't introduce much about how excellent it is. The values and inner spirit it spreads have influenced countless people. There are also countless bloggers who have explained it, but no one seems to have ever told its true charm. So today's Shawshank Redemption, we walked into it together. The story begins here. Andy, the brilliant young bank CEO, drinking in his car, because in the house not far away, his wife is having a private meeting with a golf instructor. Under the influence of alcohol, Andy took out his gun and loaded it. Then he got out of the car and prepared to kill the two people. But he stopped after taking 2 steps. The remnant of reason overcame anger. He threw the pistol into the river. Let them live, and gave myself freedom. But I don't know what happened. His wife and lover was found shot to death in bed the next day. The murder weapon was the same revolver as him. He was caught and stood in court. Coincidentally, the pistol he claimed he threw into the river. The police never found it. Coincidence of time. The missing weapon. Add reasonable motive and footprints at the crime scene. Andy was convicted of murder, served 2 life sentences. This prison where he will spend the rest of his life. His name is Shawshank. This place is famous for its tight security. It is said that no one has escaped since its establishment, and the prison guards are vicious. A former promising bank president to this day's prisoners until you step out of the prison cart. Andy still couldn't believe what was happening in front of him, but I had to accept it. Whenever a new prisoner arrives, old people in prison always have to gamble. Bet which rookie won't stand the first night in prison first. It's one of their pastimes. He was sentenced to life imprisonment for this. Red, who has been here for 20 years, bet on the frail-looking Andy. After all, a well-dressed person like this, often the most fragile inside, enter prison through a corridor full of abuse and ridicule. Then he stripped off his clothes without dignity and was washed over by a water gun, and was finally taken to prison naked. As the door closed, freedom is shut out of the door, and inside the door is a black hole that swallows hope. As the warden told them before, put your faith in God. Give him your humble life. That night, as the lights go out, the prisoners walk to the door one after another. This is the time to witness the results of the bets. To my surprise, Andy seemed calm, not a single sound. Instead, a fat man who came in with him was scared out of his wits. He kept crying and begging for mercy, screaming about wanting to go home. As a result, the sound was too loud. Then Hadley, the chief guard, came with his men and dragged him out of his cell and beat him up. He didn't know why the first night. Beaten to death here. Prisoners' lives are worthless here. People have long been used to it. No one will take this to heart. Andy's composure on the first night make Red look at him differently. And to Red's surprise, Andy quickly adapted to life in prison and seemed very calm. It's like for him, this is not a prison. In addition, on weekdays, Andy never interacted with anyone, didn't talk much. It looks very strange. Until a month later, he found Red. Red knows everything in prison. As long as you can pay for it, he can get you anything you want. Of course, it is limited to some simple daily necessities and food and drink. If you want aircraft and cannons, there's no one. Andy came to him because he wanted him to help him get a stone hammer. I heard Red say what you need with a hammer. Are you trying to use it to escape? That's impossible. Andy explained that of course not. He just likes rocks. Want to use a hammer to carve to relieve boredom. Red is skeptical, but for the sake of the money, he still agreed. And after some operations, I saw the hammer the next day. He sighed without hesitation. It'll take at least 600 years to dig a tunnel with this thing. At this time, Red would not have thought of this little stone hammer completely changed their fate. Red handed the hammer to Laubu, who delivered the book. Tell him to give it to Andy. Stuff him with another pack of cigarettes. Then the stone hammer was in Andy's hands. With the stone hammer, in addition to daily work in the laundry room, Andy started collecting rocks at yard, and then carve out various shapes. Get rid of this boring life. However, good not long. Andy was quickly targeted by a group of perverts in prison. They call themselves Three Sisters. It's a small group in prison, and their prey were young prisoners with no background who had just arrived. Once Andy was alone, they found an opportunity to force him to surrender. Of course, Andy wouldn't give in. He fought desperately, but helpless. 2 fists are difficult to defeat 4 hands. Finally, he was beaten badly by the 3 sisters. In the time since then, the 3 sisters often harass Andy, and Andy always sticks to his bottom line. Always fight back. It is often the old wound on the face that adds new wounds before it recovers. Because he knew that if he compromised once, then what you get will be permanent destruction. The warden is sending 10 men to repair the roof that day. The time is 1 week. As an old man in prison, Red knew it was a great job because you can see the scenery farther away. So he bribed prison guards with cigarettes in exchange for all the places and sell these quotas to people around you. And that includes Andy, because Red knows what happened to Andy. He wanted to help this poor man, at least for this time. The 3 sisters will not disturb him, and this also happened to give Andy a chance to turn around. As they work, Guard Captain Hadley has been complaining to his colleagues, said he was going to inherit an inheritance, but you have to pay huge inheritance taxes. Red and others know that this demon has a bad temper, afraid that he would take his anger out on himself, are working carefully, but what they didn't expect was, then Andy actually walked straight to Hadley and asked him a very offensive question. Mr. Hadley, do you believe in your wife? Hearing this, my companions were so scared that they could hardly hold their cigarettes. Hadley was instantly furious. Pick up Andy by the collar, ready to push him downstairs. Andy quickly said to him, he had a way to get Hadley to get his inheritance without paying taxes. Just transfer the inheritance to his wife. The IRS has a policy that makes it tax exempt. Just spend a little money and find a lawyer to apply. And I can do it for you. He doesn't even have to pay legal fees. In addition, Andy also made a request. That's when it's done. He's gonna treat the people here to 2 cold beers, although Hadley couldn't quite understand. But I heard what Andy said made sense. He still let him go with suspicion. And a few days later, Red and others really drank ice-cold beer. Drinking beer and looking at the scenery. At this moment, they enjoyed freedom. In Red's own words, it's like they're not working in prison. It's more like renovating the roof of your own house. Relax and comfortable. Andy well didn't drink. He just sat in the shade, looking at everyone with a smile. In the Bible, God Jesus performed a miracle, turning water into wine. And this was Andy's first miracle in Shawshank. Because of this, Andy and Red became friends. Red doesn't really believe Andy would commit the crime of murdering his wife. So during a yard trip, he asked Andy why he did that. Andy said he was wronged, and then asked why Red was locked up here. Red said he was guilty of murder, but the difference is he's the only one who's guilty in Shawshank. In addition to work, movies are sometimes shown in prison. This night at the movies, Andy found Red, asked him to help make a poster of a female star. Red readily agreed, but as Andy was about to leave, the 3 lonely sisters came to him again, and faced with their insults, he fought back as before. Beat 4 hands. Andy was quickly overpowered by 3 men, but he said, I promise to bite off everything I put in my mouth. Hearing this, the 3 sisters became afraid. They didn't put anything in Andy's mouth and started beating Andy up until he beat him until he could no longer get up. This is Andy's worst injury. He'll be in the infirmary for a month, and the eldest of the 3 sisters was only imprisoned for a week. But when he came out and returned to his cell, only to find the ferocious Hadley standing here waiting for him, he climbed outside as hard as he could. He grabbed the railing and shouted for help, but it was quickly dragged back, and another beating. So the eldest of the 3 sisters was beaten and could not stand up again, and was sent to another prison for treatment. People don't know. This is the governor's instructions. He took a fancy to Andy as a banker, is being nice to him, use him in the future. From then on, no one in prison dared to trouble Andy again. And when Andy recovers and returns to his cell, I saw the celebrity poster on the bed. This is Red's return gift to Andy. A few days later, the warden brought people to Andy's room for rounds. Seeing the Bible in Andy's hand, he is very pleased and took the Bible, asked him which paragraph he likes best. Andy answered one by one. We're talking. The inspection is complete. There's nothing unusual here. Just when I saw the poster on the wall, warden said it was not allowed, but you can make an exception for him. Then he left. Before leaving, the warden returned the Bible to Andy. I even told him a word of sincerity, said the content could save him. Let him take a good look. Few days later, Andy was transferred from the laundry room to the library. Be Lao Bu's assistant. Lao Bu is a living fossil of this prison. Almost his whole life, his job is to manage this dilapidated warehouse library and pushing a cart every night. Ask around if anyone needs to read. But with Andy coming, the business is expanding. A lot of prison guards came to Andy for help with tax processing and other banking issues, including the warden. Slowly, more and more people are coming to Andy to deal with tax issues. Even prison guards from other prisons came here. After all, a reliable and free labor force like this, who wouldn't want to use it? And as more and more work comes, Andy also found himself an assistant, Red. One day, a fellow prisoner found Andy and Red in a panic, said something happened to the library. They came over and took a look. It turns out that Lao Bu kidnapped his companion, and the reason he did it, want to stay in prison. He's about to get out of prison. But fortunately, under Andy's sincere persuasion, Lao Bu finally let go of his companions. I also accepted the fact that I had to leave. For this matter, no one can understand. Why does Lao Bu want to stay in prison? Red explained, because he's institutionalized. From youth to middle age to old age. He's been here for 50 years, spent almost my life here. He was accustomed to the constant repetition here. I'm used to asking for instructions from the prison guards for everything I do. He can't live without this system anymore. He's a man needed here. Someone will care about him. But when he goes outside, he's nothing. Although I am reluctant, but Lao Bu still had to leave Shawshank. Sitting in the car, he looked confused. When he was walking down the street, looking at the pedestrians one by one, they looked hurried, seeing that he only met once in his life. But now there are cars all over the street. Looking at the dazzling array of goods in the store, there was a great fear in his heart. Under the prison arrangements, Lao Bu lived in a dilapidated apartment and started helping people pack in supermarkets. In his spare time, he would go to the park to feed pigeons. Although he gained freedom, do what he want to, but he felt terrible pain. Even sleeping is still in a dark dream. He wanted to get a gun to rob him, get yourself sent back to prison. But the kindness in his heart would not allow him to do so. This old bone can't withstand such torture. So in the end, the kind Lao Bu gave up the idea. And his own life was also given up. He carved a sentence on the wall. After Boss came here, ended his life with a rope. Of course, in this world, there are still a group of people who are thinking about Lao Bu. This is his only friendship, but he was also cut off from his world because the library environment is so bad. Andy had a bold idea in his mind. He's expanding and renovating the library. To do this, he approached the warden to apply for funding, but it was dismissed because the money is used to raise the wall, building cells and increasing guards. But he said if Andy insisted, you can write to apply yourself. He can help mail it. From this day on, Andy will write a letter every week, even though every letter falls into the sea. But he kept insisting, and this persistence lasted for 6 whole years. In the end, the state legislature couldn't take it anymore, allocated $200 to Andy, and donated some old books and some old supplies. But he felt that this was not enough, said he would continue to write. In these things, Andy found a Mozart record. Prison guard goes to the toilet. He secretly locked the door, played this record, The Wedding of Figaro. He even turned on the radio. Then I lay down in a chair and enjoy the beauty of classical music. And long-lost free singing through the radio, resounded throughout the prison. At that moment, the singing seems to be a medicine to soothe the soul, comfort everyone's heart. But Andy also paid the price, spent 2 weeks in solitary confinement. Later, when people asked him if he regretted it, he said it was his happiest 2 weeks. Red says this is a prison. What's the point? He said it made sense because he was in prison, because it can bring something that no prison can hold, something that never dies. Red asked him what it was. He replied that it was hope, although freedom is restricted. But I can't lose hope. Life without hope is gray, lifeless, it's even meaningless. But Red doesn't think so. He said hope was painful for him. It's like a drug, can drive people crazy and useless. This is not without reason. Red has been here for 30 years. He used to be full of hope. He had a parole interview 10 years ago. At that time, he was full of hope and attached great importance to it. Even the button of his shirt was buttoned to the top button. The parole officer asked him if he had reformed. He said yes with certainty, and make sure that you will never harm society again. The words are full of hope for a new life. But in the end, what I got was disappointment. Now another 10 years have passed. Red has been in prison for 30 years. This day ushered in his second parole interview. At this time, he was no longer as nervous as before, because he doesn't want freedom so much anymore. Because of what happened to Lao Bu, he realized that leaving here might not be a good thing. Most importantly, he lost hope just like he did 10 years ago. The parole officer asked the same question again. He gave the same answer, and the results are the same. His parole was denied again, but he seemed very calm. It's like he doesn't care. When Andy learned about this as a consolation, he bought him a gift from Red's competitor. Red opened it and took a look. It's a harmonica. He once told Andy that he learned harmonica when he was young. What Andy gave was no ordinary gift. It's a hope. He wants Red to think of the past, rekindling hope in your heart. And in return, Red gave Red a new poster. That night, Red held the harmonica and looked at it for a long time. Then he put it to his mouth, but there was only one sound. He immediately put it down again. He's like a little bird that's been kept in a cage. After seeing the cage open, stretch out one foot carefully. But because of fear of the outside world, he carefully retracted his feet. He longed for freedom and hope, but also afraid of freedom and hope. As for Andy, he never gave up hope. And I've been doing it in my own way, to remind everyone not to give up hope. In the blink of an eye, a few years pass. Anderson has gray hair and presbyopic, and with his unremitting efforts, Counsel Zhou knew that a mere 200 yuan would not make him stop writing. He agreed to pay 500 yuan per year for the expansion and renovation of the library. Just like this, the small storage room was transformed into what is now a modern library. And Andy also helps prison people study here and get diplomas. In the same year, the prison director implemented an out-of-prison labor reform plan. These free labor. For a time, he became the target of robbery by capitalists. Send money and gifts to the warden. Andy became a tool for his money laundering. Every time, he would successfully launder the money the warden received and deposit it in different bank accounts. Rhett asked him one day, "Aren't you afraid of being investigated for doing this?" Andy replied, "If you were like me, you wouldn't be afraid." He's already used the loophole to create a dummy, a person with all the information about a normal person. But there was no sign of this man. All bank accounts are in his name. Even if we were investigated, we couldn't find the warden, let alone find out who you are. After listening to it, Rhett called him amazing. At this time, he still didn't know. The better ones are yet to come. Read books, do accounts, carve stones. Andy has been in Shawshank for 19 years now. That day, a new group of criminals arrived in Shawshank. One of them was named Tommy, because it was the third time. So within a few days, I was in a fight with everyone. That includes Andy and Red. Tommy is passionate about life, although always arrogant, but everyone likes his optimistic attitude. That day, Tommy found Andy, said his wife bore him a daughter. He plans to be a good person after he gets out of here. He wants Andy to teach him how to learn. Want to get a diploma in prison? Andy said yes. In addition to helping a young man get out of trouble, you can also find something for yourself to kill time. Tommy's smart, learn much faster than the average person. And all this time with Andy, it made him very curious about what crime Andy was here for. During a small chat with Red, he couldn't help but ask the question. Red answered him too, but when Tommy heard that, he was stunned. Then he told them one thing. That was when he was serving his sentence in another prison. He met a very angry prisoner. He would always show off what he had done and killed people. And once he said he killed a golf coach and his mistress, and then a banker took the fall for him. Andy was excited and shocked to hear this. He immediately found the warden, told him what happened, and asked him to overturn his case. But he was so naive. How could the warden let him go? He said it wasn't true. Tommy must have made up a lie to please him. Andy knew he was afraid that he would talk nonsense when he went out, so he said he would never tell anyone about him and can continue to help him with his accounts. As soon as these words came out, the warden was instantly furious, sentenced him to a month-long detention. And it's more than that. He made an appointment with Tommy that night, and after learning that what he said was true, had Hadley kill him, The reason is an attempt to escape from prison. A father who will go out and see his daughter in a year.
一个再有1年就可以出去见到女儿的父亲。
A young man full of hope for life died here for unknown reasons. Within the high walls, human life is like grass. A month later, Warden found Andy in solitary, told him about Tommy being shot trying to escape from prison, and hope he can continue to help me work. Andy didn't want to agree, but the warden started threatening, said he was going to burn down the library he had worked so hard to get, and locked him up with gays. He could only compromise. After that, Andy continued to work for the warden day after day. Nothing unusual can be seen. Until that day he found Red, said some strange things to him. He said if he could get out, he'll go to Suetaneo, Mexico, open a hotel there, buy a fishing boat. After saying that, he gave another address and told Red that if he went out one day, make sure you go there. He left something for him under a rock there. Red asked him what it was. He didn't say. He said he would find out when the time came. Red felt strange, but I didn't think much about it. Just think he was stimulated by Tommy's death. That night, Andy was making accounts for the warden as usual and put it in the safe in front of the warden. Before leaving, the warden looked at Andy. Clean your leather shoes, then send the suit to the laundry room for cleaning. Andy didn't say anything and did everything. Then he went back to his cell before lights out, just like old times. Nothing unusual. It rained heavily this night. There was also a lot of thunder. And because of Andy's words during the day, Red couldn't sleep for a long time. According to his own words, it was the longest night he had ever experienced. Soon, time came to the next day. As the cell door opens, everyone came out. The prison guards began to count the number of people as usual. And when Andy's name was called, but there has been no response. At first, the guards thought he was causing trouble. Tell him to get the hell out of here, or I'll kick his ass. But no one answered. And when the guards realized something was wrong, they came over to check and realized that something was wrong. Meanwhile, the warden sighed. He was about to change his shoes, only to find out that the leather shoes in the box had been switched. Immediately afterwards, the alarm sounded. Andy, who was still on rounds last night, just disappeared without any trace because Red was closest to Andy. So the warden started asking him questions, but Red says he doesn't know. He really did not know. The warden grabbed the stone Andy had carved. Then he started throwing things around angrily. But when I hit the actress poster, just listen to Shawshank, then everyone was dumbfounded because the stone actually went through the poster. And when I opened the poster, I found a hole in the back. The prison is in turmoil. The prison guards began to search with police dogs everywhere. Took me a day to search. All I found was a hammer that was almost worn out and a dilapidated prison uniform. He thought it would take 600 years to dig a tunnel with a hammer. Andy did it in less than 20 years. The camera changes the night Andy gets the hammer. This night he was going to carve his name on the wall, but I haven't even engraved a few times. At this time, a piece of cement was scraped off, and he found that the cement was as soft as tofu. Squeeze it and turn it into powder. It seems that the prison has not been repaired for a long time. It's seriously weathered. From this day on, Andy will dig the wall every night, and then at the yard the next day. Sneak the dug soil through the pants and onto the playground. It's like this day after day, year after year, until that night. After finishing the accounts this night, while the warden is opening the safe, he secretly changed the accounts and all the information, and then just like before, and put it in the safe in front of the warden. The warden didn't even notice. Then he polished the warden's shoes. He put his shoes in a shoebox, and then wear polished warden's leather shoes. Walked into the cell with a swagger. After all, no one cares about the shoes a prisoner wears. Neither did Red. Then he went to his cell. As the lights go out, Andy put the ledger in a plastic bag. Then tie it to your leg with the rope you got in advance. Then start climbing the hole. Start crawling like freedom. This end of the hole is a mezzanine space. It's full of pipes, and there's a cement pipe underneath that leads out of the prison. Accompanied by thunder, Andy started beating hard on the pipes. Every thunder sounds, he just hit it hard. Just like this, I can't tell you how many times. The pipe was finally smashed open. A large amount of sewage gushed out in an instant. At the same time, it is accompanied by an indescribable smell. But Andy didn't care, immediately crawled in. Then he started to crawl forward regardless of what he wanted, moving towards the dawn of freedom. The pipe is as long as 5 football fields, about half a mile. Just like that, Andy finally climbed out of the pipe. He pushed forward, him to take off his clothes. He opened his arms in the rain. At this moment, 20 years of forbearance and injustice were released together. He saw the freedom he had long longed for. He finally escaped from this prison that did not belong to him. He can finally be who he really is. As the warden lifted the poster, Andy appears in the bank under a new identity. The fictitious identity he created to launder money for the warden. Although that's a fictional identity, but all kinds of identity information are available. And most importantly, the money that the warden launder is stored in this identity. He took the warden's money. In addition, Andy also sent the warden and Hadley dirt and various evidence to the teller and asked her to help send it to the newspaper. Thus, the warden's crimes were made public. Investigators followed, listening to the alarm sound outside the window getting closer and closer. The warden looked at his safe, then opened it and take a look. Found out that Andy had dropped the ledger. What was left was Andy's Bible that he almost took that night. He opened the Bible and read it. Sure enough, it was just as he said. The way to redemption lies in it. The investigation team is already here. Hadley downstairs surrendered without a fight, got captured honestly. As for the warden, he has no intention of surrendering without a fight. Took out his gun and loaded it with bullets. Prepare to fight the investigators who have arrived at the door. But in the end, he chose to point the gun at himself and pull the trigger, ended his sinful life. At the same time, Andy is driving a red van, speeding down the coastal highway in Mexico, embracing his long-lost freedom. Although Andy left, but his story still lives in Shawshank Prison. Everyone is happy for him. Everyone admired him very much. They all miss him very much. In addition to being happy, Red is still a little sad. He just understood. Some birds don't want to be kept in a cage forever. After the warden died, everyone's life is much better. Red also ushered in his third parole interview. He had been here for 40 years. Today's Red, different understandings of hope and freedom. He began to rely on the Shawshank, whom he loved and hated. Just like 10 years ago, the parole officer asked the same question, but the answer changed. He said he didn't know what regret was, but I regret it all the time. He often thinks of the young man, a fool who committed a felony. He wanted to reason with him and wake him up, but I couldn't do it. Only this old body remains. After saying that, he asked them to stamp the seal. I don't care. A slight sense of tragedy, but even Red himself didn't expect. His parole pass. Fate is so unpredictable. When you work hard to get it, it just won't give you. But when you don't want it anymore, it just gave it to you again. Just like Lao Bu back then, Red changed into a clean and decent suit, out of the prison where he had spent almost his entire life. Just like Lao Bu back then, sitting in the car, he looked like a fan. Under the prison arrangements, he moved into the room where Lao Bu had lived. I became the packer that Lao Bu once did. Just like he said himself, he's been institutionalized, completely unable to adapt to life outside prison. He wanted to die like Lao Bu, but I keep thinking about my promise with Andy. So he bought a compass that day and found this place according to the location Andy said. Found the stone. He removed the stone and took a look. There is an iron box below. Then opened the iron box. It contained a spine of banknotes and a letter. The letter wrote this: Dear Red, if you read this letter, it means you're out. If you come this far, then we can move forward a little bit. You remember the name of the town, right? I need someone to work with me. I look forward to your arrival. The chessboard is set. Remember, Red, hope is a good thing, perhaps the most beautiful thing in the world. After reading the letter, Red understood. Knowing that hope is a wonderful thing, perhaps the most beautiful thing in the world, and it will never fade away. Back home, Red packed his bags. Then he carved it on the wall. After Rhett is here too. Got on the long-distance bus. Long journey to the beach of Suetanio. And on the beach is polishing the iron boat. Andy, who has been waiting for him. By the blue sea, the two hugged each other. This is the sea of freedom. It's the sea of hope. It is also the sea of redemption. And this is Shawshank's Redemption. Remember what Rhett said? Some birds cannot be caged. Some people's hopes cannot be tied. Andy and Red made us understand the most precious thing a person should have in life: freedom and hope. This is the eternal theme of mankind, is the source of strength in this movie. It is also the place that moves us the most. When I first entered prison, the warden wants everyone to give their spirit to God. And when a person gives up his spirit, then you lose your soul. At this moment, Shawshank no longer bans the body. is the hope in your heart. For Shawshank Prison, Andy's arrival is like a dead water. Suddenly, a vibrant fish rushed in. He not only changed Shawshank little by little, it is also subtly influencing everyone inside. In these 19 years, he did a lot of things that no one else would dare to imagine. Ask the guard for a beer, apply to Parliament for funding to expand the library, even knowing he would be punished, played the song The Wedding of Figaro, and his purpose in doing this, to awaken hope in people's heart, keep him going, dug it down, is the hope in your heart, is the most dangerous thing in Shawshank, and the best thing in life. The movie is called Shawshank Redemption, and those who are also redeemed and read. Long-term prison life has institutionalized him little by little. Institutionalization is something that cannot be seen or touched, but it can slowly eat away your will, even if you understand the truth. But he could do nothing, like a man falling into the water. The land is right in front of you, but it's out of reach. The more you struggle, the less you lose your strength. I could only sink silently. Besides being institutionalized, long bans and repeated parole rejections, the hope in Red's heart disappeared with it, until I met Andy. His words and deeds, the harmonica he gave out, the letter he left, causing Red's hope to be rekindled. It is precisely because of this hope that makes Red between life and death. In the end, I chose the former. I don't know if you've thought about it. In fact, this world is a huge prison. Outside the walls is freedom, happiness, and love. We are all locked in this prison. He spent his life looking at the outside world. Maybe unknowingly, we're institutionalized from the beginning to resist it until you get used to it. Then I can't live without it, and finally fell into it. And hope and faith will be the key to saving ourselves. Each of us should be our own master, although you are within the system, but he still wants wary to hope. Don't lose yourself. Don't give up on yourself. Last, may you and I on the screen never give up hope to walk out of Shawshank